Hello, Mr. Corliss. This is my process letter number 4. I'm Ethan Lee, and I can't wait to share all these great things I've learned with you this year. So, first, I'll start with an introduction, and then I'll move into a deepen how my understanding has deepened this year, and how my understandings of evolution has been reinforced. So, first, an introduction. Of course, you were my bio teacher sophomore year, and under your incredible guidance, I think I learned a lot about evolution, and I wasn't really prone to any misconceptions because of that. So, I didn't add any major shifts in my understanding, but this class has definitely changed the way I think about evolution, as well as many other things in life. Like, yeah, I mean, unrelated, but let's get right into it. So, the first thing that was deep in was my understanding of just evolution in general, like survival of the fittest, especially. So, starting off the year with the rock pocket mice paper, I went into it thinking that is like just the stronger ones would survive. I mean, it's the fittest, right? The most powerful ones. But um, I guess it was kind of naive of me to think that because the rock pocket mice, they didn't have any crazy changes. It wasn't like one of them was running faster than the other, like the populations weren't, and one population wasn't like much bigger than the other. In fact, the only thing that changed was their coat color, and that was kind of interesting to me because it hinted at speciation, at them growing into different species, but all that changed was due to a small adaptation that changed their coat color, and that was kind of like the root of my first misunderstanding in this class. And moving on to this is where the Finch paper, I learned a lot about the sexual selection, and this further challenged my notion of survival of the fittest because when they sing songs, the amount of notes in their trills or the frequency, all that, it really has nothing to do with their fitness level or how strong they are. I guess you could say that in their beaks, because the the sexual selection affects beak size and beak shape, that because of the that's like also used for finding and foraging food, that affected that as well. But um, it really was surprising to see that just a song could affect the chances of breeding for individuals. And I am from Arcadia, so I did learn about this when I was younger with peacocks and why peacocks have their giant fans, beautiful fans, and the notions of sexual selection from there. But I think this class was really where I first like actually understood the implications of that, and it's something pretty new to me and something I want to explore later on in this class. Um, so for Brassica Rappa, how could I mention adaptation without mentioning this paper? I mean, this was something. It was just kind of crazy to me because these solutions that the plants found for countering the drought, like adaptation versus plasticity, escape versus avoidance, like I mean, those are some pretty advanced strategies that it even took me a while to understand how they worked. And I guess it's a connection that I made on my own that wasn't really talked about in class is that these adaptations, these evolutions, they really are random. Like, I almost feel like I was thinking about this in a way that someone was controlling it, that they had a choice to pick adaptation or plasticity, that they had a choice between escape or avoidance. But in reality, it's just random mutations that lead to one or the other, and one of them will be successful whereas the other one will not, and that chooses which one survives. And that's kind of like a brutal way to think about it because now I think about like all the animals to evolve to the place we are today. It's because of failed mutations as well as the successful mutations. So that was kind of like a eye opening discovery I made, and maybe I should have noticed it earlier, but like that's going all the way back to like Darwin's theory and all that, and I've just noticed it now. So I guess that's a way my understanding has deepened through this class. And now moving on to my reinforced understandings, it's the impact of species on ecosystems, but not only that, but I guess just the interconnectedness of species and ecosystems. because when species change, the whole ecosystem will change around it. The species will impact other species, impacting populations, impacting the geography of the region, and all that. And when an ecosystem changes, it will force species to change as well. And that's like the basis of evolution. So, I feel like this is stated well in the example of scrub jays, how a population could affect another population, which could affect the entire species. And kind of like what you said all the way back in honors bio is like the leaf level versus the floor level versus the tree level versus the whole forest view. There's just so many layers to this that, and just thinking about it this way has reinforced my understanding of it. So scrub jays, we talked a lot about how the majority groups need help from the minority groups in order to stay genetically diverse to avoid being inbred, which would negatively affect um, their fitness. So it's just we can't focus on one single population. We have to look towards multiple populations to really get a sense for the species. And moving on to another example with the Antarctica octopus example. I'm sorry, I forgot the exact scientific name for that, but it was interesting for me to see how through analyzing the genetic the genetic diversity between populations in the Antarctic oceans, how we could find changes to the ecosystem based on that. And it's just an interesting dynamic to think about because it's not like the octopi or the octopuses were opening paths through the ice sheets. It was the ecosystem change that brought them towards different areas. And now that they are at different areas of Antarctica, it'll impact the fish populations. It'll impact, I don't know, whatever other animals are living out there. How the ecosystem change and species change are always going to be connected to each other. And that was just fascinating for me to see. And also, I thought it was like a really cool idea to use the to analyze the genes of a species in order to track the change of the ecosystem because really they are interconnected, and that's something that has been reinforced in this class. And finally, I want to make my own connection. I know we haven't talked about this in class, but I want to bring up this point of coral reefs, and I've seen on the news everywhere that they're being affected by climate change, how they're dying off, and this is a change to species which will drastically impact the the ecosystem and other species as well. And it's kind of like a snowball effect. So if these coral reefs they do die off, look at just in this one picture, there's probably like 100 different species you could see, so many different colors, so many different fish, so many like random like what is this like grass growing off the coral reef, but coral reefs like it's just reinforcing the idea that the ecosystems are connected with the species, that the species build up the ecosystems, and changes to one or the other will affect everything. And that's all I got. I know I diverged a little bit. I went off course. I didn't really quite talk about evolution in the end, but I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in class. Thank you, Mr. Corliss.